What's up, guys? Matt here, DIY prepper. I'm out here at the property today. I've been getting some work done. Anyway, I sat down for a little bit, have some water, because I'm lucky enough to have a wife that insists that I drink plenty of water. So I sat down in the barn for a second, and I thought I'd bring something up. Here recently, there's been almost every preparedness-minded YouTube channel has been talking about upcoming shortages in food, fuel, and everything else. And all they really say about it is, from a very reliable source, says that they're going to have shortages, and it's a source that they trust. Well, I believe it. I think that's right. But I wanted to tell you a little bit of my reasoning on why I think that's right. That's a little bit more than just, I have a reliable source that told me. Everybody knows, they're pushing the thing really big. And a lot of big companies that really deal with the supply chain. There's a wasp buzzing around. But a lot of companies that are dealing with the supply chain of critical items are starting to mandate the thing as a condition if you're going to work there. And it's been a couple of the meat packing plants. I know Walmart, and there's several others. It's an exhaustive list. I'm not going to get into it all. But the distribution centers, all these places that we depend on for our supply chain, they're all going to start mandating that. And from what I can gather, there's about a 60% compliance rate with having that done. And on top of that, Biden announced that any company over 100 employees has to have it. But at about a 60% compliance rate. That may go up a little bit, but in my opinion, the ones that haven't gotten it now probably aren't going to. So what I'm afraid might happen, set my water down. What I'm afraid might happen is we're going to wake up and a little bit at a time, different companies will let their employees go for non-compliance. But the thing about that is, this is a little off subject, they're not going to fire them. They're going to put them on LOA. Contingent to them coming back to work, they're going to have that thing done. That way, if they don't get it, if they choose to not get it, they're not fired. They forfeited their job. That's a resignation. And it's going to stop millions of unemployment claims. So that's in itself is, in my opinion, a little shady. But, whether it be a meat packing plant or a distribution center or, one of the big chain supermarkets, whatever that may be, a truck driving company, big supply chain companies are going to have full staff, which isn't even full staff right now. Nowhere is full staffed. Everybody's needing help. The next day, 40% of their employees are going to be gone, which, that's operating at 60% of what they should be, which is not good at all. So what this leads us to is even worse than that. A lot of these companies that are supply chain oriented, they run 2-3 shifts. And right now, if it's a 2-shift company, they're going to have to, maybe combine shifts. And 2 60% shifts at today's employment rate under normal times may make 1 full shift. So that's an automatic 50% loss in production, whether that be truck driving or whatever. I mean, pick which part you want to you want to talk about. It doesn't really matter. The result is the same. That's going to cause some issues. I really think it will. And I'm not trying to just sound paranoid, but I think it will. So what do you need to do? Well, in the short term, you need to buy some canned goods, and you need to buy some meat and put it in the freezer. That's a short-term solution. And you probably will still be able to get it. It will just be in short supply, or at least short from what we're used to. If you go to Walmart or any of the big grocery stores right now, you'll already notice that the product is stacked wide but not deep. Man, it's still hot. And you'll notice that. They could condense that store and take out all the extra space and maybe use 2/3 of the shelving that they have in there. And all this is going to hit probably at the worst time, because it's going to be as winter's coming in. And fuel and everything else, and you can just add to the list. I'm not going to make an exhaustive list right here, but start buying some canned goods and some meat, whether that be chicken, beef, pork, it doesn't matter. Pick whatever you want, put it in the freezer and freeze it. It'll be good for a year or so. Pastas. One thing about pastas, if you buy the angel hair pasta, it's thinner. There's not as much there to it, and it cooks faster. So, if you're looking long-term and you're having to get into your long-term food storage, you're probably not going to be wanting to burn a whole bunch of fuel. So the angel hair pasta, since it cooks faster, would probably be my go-to item to store as far as pastas go. A little bit longer term of that, if you've got the ability to get some chickens, and I'm talking egg makers, it's, to me, in my opinion, it's too much hassle for meat birds. Chickens, to me, are egg makers. Rabbits are said to be the absolute pinnacle of time and energy put in, time, energy, and expense put in to meat put out. And of course, they breed like rabbits. So you have that. Cattle and stuff like that. I don't know. I guess you could get a milk cow if you wanted. It's not worth it to me. Non-fat, powdered, dry milk will store almost indefinitely. So I'd probably go that route. Freeze-dried stuff. If you have the ability to get it, it's expensive. If you have a freeze dryer, that's the absolute best. More along the lines of, the long-term storage. Look at beans and rice. Everybody talks about beans and rice, but why? Well, beans and rice, when used together, the two of them form a complete protein. And with that complete protein, you have an extender. So you have some ground beef that you've frozen, you've, section out a little bit of it, cook some, maybe make some beef stew. Well, your beans and rice now extend that into 2 or 3 meals instead of just one. So look into that. Fuel. You need to have some fuel. If you can, get the non-ethanol fuel. Ethanol-free, 100% gasoline. It stores way better. It's better on your equipment. And we have a rule at our house, nothing ever goes in a fuel can unless it's ethanol-free. The vehicles, the car, the truck, we run through that stuff enough that I just put regular old fuel in it. You'll need to stabilize it. Pry-G. Everybody talks about seafoam, Stay-Bil. If you want to do it right, do it once and not have any problem with it whatsoever, Pry-G. You can find it at farm stores, places like that. RV places sell it. I just ordered it off Amazon. But that is the real stuff right there. Pri-G, I mix it up about double what it calls for, and I keep it a year. After a year, you can put more Pri-G in it, retreat it, and you're good for another year. I don't do that. I dump it in the pickup and burn it and replace it after a year. January is whenever I replace it. I'm probably going to do it here pretty soon and rotate it out a little early. That way I won't be needing to replace it in January when there is a possibility that it may not be as available or more expensive. Propane and kerosene. Convenience, man. Propane, get you a camp stove, a little, the buddy heaters. I have a buddy heater and I have a big buddy heater. We love them. Power outages, they're the king. They'll run off of the little 1 pound bottles, or you can get the hose to run them off of the big, bottles that you use for your barbecue grill or whatever. Just be sure you run a filter in your hose, because they will get oil inside of the heater and it will ruin them. Or not ruin them, but you'll have to fix it. Kerosene. Kerosene heat is a nice heat. It's kind of a one-trick pony. You can run it in oil lamps, whatever. We keep it. We keep some kerosene heaters. We keep some oil lamps. We don't use it much at all. I'll put it in my hurricane lanterns. We really don't use them for anything other than camping. LED lights. They're so efficient now. You can light your whole house on LED lights on the smallest generator you could find. And as far as your generator goes, with winter coming, be sure you've got enough fuel to run that thing for a week or so. And by running a week or so, that doesn't mean going out there and starting it up with no load and timing how long it takes. You need to put a pretty heavy load on it, because it's going to use a whole lot more fuel than what you think. Once again, stabilize the fuel. I try not to store them with fuel in them. It happens. I'm not the greatest at, running them dry or draining it, but I keep stabilized fuel in them, and they do just fine. But anyway, all this stuff is going to be coming up pretty soon. I think October is going to start some of it, and then November. I think November 1st has kind of become the rule of thumb whenever most of these big companies are going to start enacting that mandate. That's their line in the sand date. It's just something you need to be aware of. We hear about it so much, we tend to ignore it and think, oh, well, that'll be in the future and I've got time. But, this is the first time in my life that it, I really started thinking, there might not be enough food to go around, or that food might be incredibly expensive. So food, fuel, water, have water stored. It's hard to store. It's bulky, but it's almost free right now. Store some water. Rotate it out once a week or whatever. You don't have to store it long term. Pick what you want. Just go and buy packs of the water bottles at Costco, Sam's Club, Walmart, grocery store, whatever. And also the water cooler 5-gallon jugs are nice too. It's a little bit cheaper to store the water that way. And it gives you a little bit more if you need it for, washing hands and things like that. The big blue square Aquatainer, or I don't remember what the name is, jugs are nice because they've got the little spout on them, and you can wash your hands like that. Another thing is I've got some dental issues. I went ahead and made a dental appointment. I'm going to get that cleared up. If you've got health insurance, dental insurance, vision insurance, right now would be a good time to go ahead and use that. Start clearing up some of your dental problems. Might be a good time to go ahead and look into LASIK surgery. Health issues, if you've got something that's been going on, take care of it. Take care of any prescription medications you may need. The list goes on and on, just all these things, But Anyway, I just kind of wanted to give you my perspective on why I think that the shortages may be happening, and I think it actually will. And I wanted to tell you a little bit of my reasoning as to why I think it's going to happen more than just, well, a reliable source that I trust. But I can't tell you the name of them because I want to protect my source. Well, this is the logic behind what I was thinking. Well, anyway, y'all stay safe, and until next time, y'all have fun.